describe it? How would I describe it? It's, I guess, a kind of a city film. It's a silent film, although it doesn't have any of the aesthetic kind of trimmings of a silent film. It's basically just a film in which people don't talk. And they do watch silent films in the film, maybe as a kind of like nod to what's happening on screen. It's a description of the experience of moving somewhere, moving to a bigger city, and what that feels like. And maybe it's a description of a specific move that Canadians sometimes make from a smaller place to Toronto, specifically the biggest city in the country. And so I wanted to capture that the emotional feeling of it in a kind of surreal and silent way in this film, I could probably go on at length about several different filmmakers, but I think I'll just pick one that I referred to a number of times throughout making this film. It's Jean Vigo, the French filmmaker from the 1920s and early 30s. He died tragically at the age of 29, I believe, but left an incredibly inspiring body of work behind. And in particular, he made a city film with the cameraman Boris Kaufman, the brother of Dziga Vertov, the Russian filmmaker, aka Denis Kaufman. Apropos to Nice is a city film about Nice, France, but it has a kind of specific kind of point of view. Even though it's a silent film and a documentary, it has a point of view, a kind of wry, humorous, and somehow political point of view as it's exploring the city and the things it shows, the contrasts it draws, and the different things that it chooses to show you about Nice, give you an impression of both Nice and the person or people looking at Nice and what kinds of things they might be thinking about Nice. So that was the film that inspired me to make this one. I guess if I were given a good budget is kind of just perfect. A good budget is good enough for me. I wouldn't want a really huge budget, or I wouldn't be interested in making a Hollywood blockbuster style film, but if I had, say, a modest budget enough to hire, union actors and employ a, decent sized crew, although not too big a crew, enough to maybe make a return somehow on the investment of the people who were backing the film, just modest enough that it could allow me to make another film. That would be the ideal budget for me. So like a film that interested audiences, intrigued audiences, and thrilled them in the general ways or the usual ways that good films thrill an audience, but that wasn't too expansive, and that could just basically create the interest in the audience of saying, give that guy another good budget to make a film. That would be my ideal. I guess I would try to surround myself with people who are extremely organized and maybe even more experienced than I at filmmaking. Producers and assistant directors who are responsible for these types of things, ideally. Or even people who are younger and hungry for experience and just want the project to go smoothly. Both of those kinds of people are nice to have around for the purposes of just keeping your project going and keeping things on track. Yeah, the hardest part was the edit of Albi. It was my fault that I gave the footage to an editor and thinking that he could kind of make something of it himself based on my script, which wasn't very specific, or it was specific, but maybe not in the ways that anyone else could understand or discern by looking at it. So he had the footage for a while, and then eventually we both decided that maybe I should be the one to edit the film. And then I did, and quickly realized my mistake, because the project is so idiosyncratic and so personal that I couldn't imagine what he made of the footage. So that it took a while to even come to the decision that I would be the editor. And then once I was the editor, it took me a long time to figure out what the film was and how it would flow. In particular, because it kind of has an unusual story flow, it took a while to figure out the rhythm or tempo of the film. And in particular, the sequence documenting the move from, in this case, Western Canada to Toronto. That the move that the film makes is a kind of drastic and kind of abrupt move, and follows a different flow than the rest of the film. And so it took a while to discover myself what that flow would feel like. And so that was the hardest part about making the film, was editing and post. And I think in general, I find that maybe because I'm a writer, I started as a writer, I learned things in order. So I learned how to write films, and then sort of make films, and then edit films. And editing for me is always the most time consuming part. I think because it can be extremely gratifying to kind of arrive at a place where you feel like your film is done or is working, but I just find I'm so slow at editing. I guess I'm gonna be working. I've just finished another short called Friend of the Drifting Light that I'm submitting around to festivals, and it's a longer short, 29 minutes, and so that look for that wherever film festivals are running. And then I'm also writing a feature that I'm working on, and hopefully we'll be making that at some point next little bit. All right. Well, thank you so much for selecting I'll Be, and thanks again for giving me the opportunity to do this interview, and take care.